Hey, how's it going, everybody? Today we're going to do some live online arbitrage book sourcing. We're going to be using FlipMine. We're going to be using some of the Keep a Deals page, some Keep a Product Finder, and maybe if we get some notifications, some Keep alerts, then we'll also go ahead and use that. So with that said, let's get right into it. Let me go and share my screen here so that you can see what's up, and let's do this. Okay, percent. Share screen. Share that. Perfect. All right, let's come over here. Let's go up and open up some FlipMine. By the way, if you're someone who's coming and watching this after it's recorded, then just jump ahead like a minute or two for us to get into sourcing. All right, let's see. So I'm over here on FlipMine. Let's go and see if we can find some books. Hey, Chris, how's it going? It says, good morning, my first live stream. Awesome, Chris. Where are you coming from? Curious. Rosemary, good morning. Good to see you as well. So we got Chris in the house. We got Rosemary. Good morning. Good to see everyone. Yeah, sorry about last week. I was in Miami, so I was networking a little bit, meeting some people. So I really did try to stream, but it just didn't work out. AJ says, watching from Los Angeles. Hey, you're up early. I appreciate it. That's awesome. Chris coming from Atlanta. Awesome. All right, so and Rosemary, yes, coming from Houston. All right, so we're going to do a little bit of FlipMine. We're going to do a little bit of Keep a Deals, Product Finder, and also see if we get any Keep alerts while we're doing this. So let's get started. I always like to start with FlipMine because while it doesn't like necessarily, while it's not like a whole bunch of, like you can't buy a whole bunch of books on this every single day, I've noticed that eBay is actually the source where I find the most profitable books. There's just fewer of them, but I definitely still love FlipMine. So let's get started there. This introduction to aeronautics looks interesting to me because there's actually a pretty big difference in price between the eBay price and the inferred lowest price. So what I would do is open up this and also the one right below it, which has a pretty big difference in price there. And, a lot of the times this data isn't super accurate, which is honestly not a bad thing because a lot of people get frustrated with that. And that means they stop using the service or, maybe, I don't know, it's harder for them to find stuff. So this introduction to aeronautics, this is an acceptable condition, which is not great. It's $45. Clearly, that is very undervalued in this case. And the reason why we know that that's undervalued is because if you look at this black use line here, let me kind of zoom in on the Keep It chart a little bit here. See if that works. Yeah, the black use line here is well above $45, and it's above $45 a whole year. So if you were to buy this, this would definitely be undervalued. Like if you're a student, you'd be getting a great deal on this. Now, I'm just going to use SellerAmp. And if you're someone who hasn't used SellerAmp and you want to use SellerAmp, I do have a link to that. I'll have a link to that after I'm done streaming. But $45.08 would be the cost price here. Now I think pretty reasonably you should be able to sell this for around $70, $75. I'd say $75 is pretty good estimate. You make a $7 profit there. So yeah, I would say not a great deal, obviously, because you're kind of limited on how high you can go with this. It looks like Amazon has been on this listing for as low as $78. So if they came down to $78, it'd be really hard for us to make money. Like it'd be hard for us to sell it at 75, but they also have been higher in the past. Probably the best time to have sold this would have been in the recent past where the lowest use price was up to 100. And if you were able to get like $95, this would become a much better deal. But a couple of things make me not want to buy it. One is being that it's an acceptable condition, but we could still send an offer. So I'm going to go and click contact seller here. And I'm going to go ahead and use one of my auto hotkey scripts, or actually my eBay scripts here. And I'm just going to say, hey, would you do 25? Let's see. So I'm going to contact the seller. Okay, it doesn't look like they want to entertain offers, so that's unfortunate, but it's all good. Okay, so let's look at this element of propulsion. $46.34 for this book. We go over to Amazon. $98 buy box. Again, scroll down to the Keep It chart. It looks like the same thing. This book holds some value right above 60 plus. So definitely if you're a student, this would be a great deal. Let's go and plug this into SellerAmp. $46.34. I would say conservatively, this would probably move for around like $80. I think it could definitely move for 80. And if it were to move for 80, you'd make a $10 profit. And the sales ring of this is actually pretty good. You should probably be able to sell this within a month and a half to 2 months. So Best case scenario would be that Amazon's price stays at 119 and the third party new price stays up there at 111, so that you could charge a little bit more. Because if you can get like 95 for this book, then you're actually making a pretty decent, ROI, making 50%. And again, this is something that I would consider buying due to the fact that its rank is a little bit better, and it could potentially sell for more money. But for this to be considered like a great deal, if you could pick this up for $35, that would be an amazing deal. Unfortunately, this person isn't accepting offers, so I don't know. This would be one that's like, if you have the capital, and there's no way that you're going to lose money on it. So I mean, you might make 10 or 15 bucks. So I'd say go for it if that's something you want to do. So I'll leave that there. I will consider buying that one. So I'll leave that one open if no one's going to buy that one. All right, and let's see if there's anything else quickly, and then we'll switch over to Keepa. So I'm going to open this one up as well. $29, lowest eBay price. Lowest inferred is 118. It's a spiral bound, so I'm not sure if this is going to be super accurate, but let's see. And actually, this is from the same seller. So it looks like this person might have just listed a whole bunch of books. Yeah, and this book is actually really interesting. You could have actually bought this book for right around the same price between May and July. And then look how crazy this is. You can see that the used offer count in August just kind of just bottomed out because people really needed this book. So that means is, obviously if you had the book at that time, you would have been able to move for about $100. So let's see who we got. The used book guy in here. How's it going, Mike? Good to see you. You're supposed to tell them you're a famous YouTuber, you'll automatically accept. Oh man, I should totally tell them that. Unfortunately, I don't think that they would care. They wouldn't know who Joji is. They might know who Mike, the used book guy, is, though. I think I would say instead, hey, I have a friend called Mike, the used book guy. I think maybe they'd give me a good deal then. So let's go and see. All right, this is something that I would definitely consider buying. And here's why I would consider buying this. The lowest used price in the last year is about $26. That's probably not including shipping. So $29 is probably the cheapest you could have bought this book in the last year, which is right around what the price is right now. So I'm going to enter that into Seller App, $29.32. Now, when this book was selling most frequently was in the August textbook season right here, which means you're probably going to have to wait until August to move this book because that's when people are buying this book. Now, there have been some fewer other sales in November, also one in December, one in January, and each of those sales was for a price that would be profitable. Like even if you sold this book for $61, you'd be making some decent money. You'd be making 45% ROI. Even this sale here, which was at probably the new price at 118, now you'd be making $61. Now you wouldn't have sold it in new condition. You would have sold it in used condition there. But if you take a look and expand the data of this book further, notice that its price generally is very good. And what I mean by that is, if you look in August, September, it's usually much higher than what it is today. So I would say this is actually a really good score. This is something I'd pop on. If you're someone out there who's looking to do an OA book flip, I would say definitely pick this up. Now you might have to wait until August if you want to get top dollar for it, but I still think even if you just want to sell it, as soon as possible, I think listing this for 60 or 70 bucks prime. Like I think if you listed this $65 prime or even $69, $69.99 prime, I think you would sell that really quickly. But like I said, if you want to hold on to it to August, I'd probably ask like $100 for it. And I bet you would definitely get that. So someone pop on that for me, please. Just remember that this is a spiral bound and it's good. It says good condition. There is no picture, obviously. So you would probably want to, make sure you check the condition before you just send it in. But yeah, I would say this would be a good deal. I would definitely buy this if no one's going to buy that. So I'm going to put that over there. All right, let's see what else we got before we switch over. A lot of these case books, by the way, I'm not sure if you've seen this. You probably have seen these if you've if you've been sourcing quite a bit. But a lot of those case books, I'll talk about those in a second. We got Logan in the house. How's it going? Hey, you got to check out both of these guys. So first, you got to check out Mike, the used book guy. If you don't know who that is, he's over on his channel. He's doing a lot of media. And then you got Logan over here in the house. I met him in Miami. Really cool dude. And he does basically all OA. I think he does a little bit of wholesale as well. I'm actually like going to his channel, going to his live streams, trying to figure out some of the OA stuff because it is something that I'm interested into moving into eventually. So go check him out if you're there. Appreciate you being here, Logan. All right, this book here, really interesting. Clearly, this is a textbook as well. You can see that its sales rank gets really good or improves really well in August and September. But for the most of the time, like this book is actually really cheap. So this is something that I wouldn't consider buying, because this sort of textbook seasonality is also not like, there isn't a pattern where you can sell it for that sort of elevated price. Looks like there's maybe a couple of times where the price rose a little bit, but definitely not to the point where I'd be, I'd want to consider buying that. So looks like, let me see if there's anything else here that looks interesting. This Door Under the Stairs, like, look how crazy this potential ROI is. And also this We Light the Candles. Let's go and take a look at both of those. Let's see what we got. So we got buy two, get one free from this seller, same seller as well. So that's interesting. $7 is lowest use price. I mean, what you can see with this book right off the bat is it doesn't inherently hold any value. When it's moving, the lowest use price is right around $2 or $3. So this is something that I definitely would pass on for sure. We Light the Candles, coming in at about $20 from your online bookstore. They're actually a seller that sells books really cheap sometimes, but unfortunately, same thing. This is a book that just doesn't really hold any value either. The lowest use price is right around like $1 or $2. So something we got to pass on. And again, FlipMine's not always accurate. Most of the time it's actually inaccurate, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it can be frustrating, and I understand that. Okay, the Horse is paying $35 here. Over here on Amazon, looks like lowest use price is right around $32. And this actually has a little bit of upside. Like, it has sold for maybe up to 40 or 50, but still buying this at $35 is not really a super great price. So this is something that I'd pass on as well. I'm also restricted on that, so you have to. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I actually woke up really woke up kind of late today. I actually forgot about this. No Discord reminder. I'm sorry, but hey, you made it here. You made it here, so I appreciate you being here. It's all good. All right, let's go back over. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and pop over to Keepa after I look at this research methods book, and then we'll do some of that Keepa analysis. So $24.97 for this book. Looks like you can buy it for $8 over on Amazon. So, not something that, again, is going to be something we'd buy on eBay. We'd buy it on Amazon if it was profitable. What's interesting about this book is the first 6 months out of the year, the lowest use price was right around $25 when it was moving. So that's some good news. And then you can see this book definitely in September sold a little bit more frequently. It was selling for right around $8 or $9, and then a couple of sales above 150. So that was right at the tail end of textbook season, which is pretty crazy that you can sell a book for that high after it was selling for so cheaply. Now it's back to that, $8 or $9. I would just say that this book just still doesn't really move often enough at a higher price for me to want to buy it. But good old Goodwill Southern California, they're selling this book. Prime offers are over $200. So, I mean, you might be able to buy this at $12, sneak it in there, get like $29.99 or $39.99. But there's also a newer edition out. So I would say this would still be a pass for me. All right. So let's go ahead and let's look at Keepa real quick. By the way, I'm going to keep FlipMine just up in the browser, and I'm going to have it refreshing every like 60 seconds or so. So we'll pop on over there every once in a while to see if we can snag anything. All right, so we're going to use the Keepa Deals page, and let's also use the product finder as well. So we're going to use both of those. So I'm going to type in Keepa as well. So, and I think I've been using the deals page a lot more recently here on the channel when we've been live streaming. So let's actually use the product finder tab first. So if you're not sure how to use that, go to this data tab up here when you're on the Keepa homepage. You go over to the product finder tab on the left, and here you can input parameters to basically find products that, in terms of whatever you can imagine, like whatever you can create in your mind. If you think about what sort of product it is you want and you want to target it, you could figure out how to find it using this tool. So it does take a little bit of creativity, a little bit of practice using it. But let's just say, for example, we want to find books, which is, again, I'm a bookseller, so this is what I would use it for. You can use it for all these other different categories though. But let's look for books here, book category, and I'm going to scroll all the way up to the top again. And I want to look for books that actually that could potentially have higher sales rank, because I move books all the time that don't sell as frequently, because I know how to price them according to what Keepa says that they should be selling for. So I'm not afraid to go up to 2 million rank. So I'm going to have that as my sales rank for my book. For an Amazon price, I like to make sure that if Amazon's on the listing, that that their price is a little bit higher, because I'm interested in selling books that are a little bit more expensive. So I want the Amazon price to be at least $75 or more. So I'm going to include that. Same thing with the new offer here. I want the new offer from a third party to, I'm gonna say, be at least like, we'll just say $69, $69.99. It's got to be higher. So I'm sort of imagining in my mind this would be a book where Amazon and the third party new seller are very close to each other. They're at least like 60 or at least $69.99. And then let's go ahead and scroll down to the used price here. So I'm gonna try to find a book that has held a little bit of value in the past in terms of an average. Like let's say maybe an average of 40 to, let's say an average of $40 to $60. So I'm going to say the 90-day average is going to be between 40 and 60. And then I want the current day price. Let's actually have the 30-day price to be a little bit lower. So let's imagine a book that's actually decreasing in price over the last 30 days. So let's say the 30-day average is less than 50. So we'll say $50, less than 50. And then let's say that the current used price of this book is going to be between $0 and let's just say $20. Let's see if that shows any results. Okay, so that brings up 74 products. Again, I was just kind of engineering a book that I want to buy here, and let's press this find products. I would say of what shows up, there's probably going to be 3 or 4 books. I would say about probably 3 or 4 books that would be good deals, and the rest are probably just going to be things we got to sift through. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these. Clearly, like you can see how this product finder tab would work. Like for example, this Lewis Medical Surgical Nursing book. You can see that it's held some pretty good value over the last 90 and 30 days. It has definitely seen a pretty big decrease in price. That used offer count is actually going up a little bit, but the one thing that you got to be really careful about with books that when you use the strategy is making sure that there aren't new editions coming out. There is a newer edition of this book coming out, and that's kind of why this medical surgical nursing book is probably going to start decreasing in price. And you can even see the buy box used price here back in November, December was pretty healthy, and it's kind of just sliding down. So this is something that I'm going to go and pass on, but it definitely was found using our parameters. So here's a really interesting book. You can see that this is exactly what we're looking for, is a book that's sliding down in price. It looks like it's down to about 14 or 15 bucks. And we've had about 5 or 6 sales in the past year, right around like $80. Now I'm going to zoom out a little bit to see, does this book hold value in the past? It definitely does. Now that data is going to be less valuable if this is a textbook, because usually textbooks have newer editions, and it looks like this is a textbook. So what we would want to do is figure out, is there a new edition of this book? Is that the reason why it's kind of skidding right now in price? So the easiest way probably to do that would be to come down here to see when it was published. And this was published in 2004. And if this is published in 2004 and it's still selling, or at least was still selling for a pretty high dollar amount, that probably means it is the newest edition. But what we could do is on Seller Amp, and click this little G Google button, and we can see if we can find maybe this same book and see if we can find the 5th edition. Looks like this is the 3rd edition. So that's actually going to be not a book that we, that it's not the newer edition. And Modern Practice of Gas, this looks very, very old. So this has got to be like the 2nd or the 1st edition. So all I'm going to do is type in the 5th edition and see if we can find that. And so Practical Gas Chromatography Comprehensive. This looks like it's a different book. It's also published by a different company, so that's not the right book. Yeah, so I can tell you that this right here is the newest version of this book. I would say I would 100% pop on this book, depending on what the offers look like. So let's take a look at that. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 offers right around $20, and then it goes up to 37, 37. Then it jumps up to 84. Now this is a book that inherently does not sell a ton, so I wouldn't want to buy probably more than just 1 copy of this book, because if you buy 4 copies and only sold 5 or 6 times in the year, you still got to compete against other sellers. So this is something that I might consider buying one copy of. And this is something that I also consider tracking, because it looks like this downward decrease in price, it doesn't look like it's stopping anytime soon. So if I were to track this for maybe $8 plus shipping, then it might get so stupidly cheap that it makes sense just to buy the other copies just to get them off the market, so that then I can take mine and sell it back up here for $82. So I'm actually going to track this right here. So let's track this for $8 right here. And I'm going to track that for 3 years. And if that ever reaches that price, I'm going to get notified of this book. Now, to be clear, if there was only 1 copy of this book available, I would just buy it, because it's likely that somebody else is going to find this. Somebody who needs it is going to buy it. But because there are a few copies, there's Looks like there's 5 copies at basically $20, and this book just doesn't inherently move much. I think probably somebody who needs this book, I mean, there might be 1 or 2 people come along, but this book isn't really moving a lot. I think there's a lot of opportunity to pick this up even cheaper, so that's why I'm going to track that book. But I'd say this is exactly what you are trying to find here. Let's take a look over here at this clinical microbiology. Again, this is a book that doesn't have a great sales rank. It's sold a few times. This one's not selling enough for me to consider buying this for 16 bucks. I'm going to pass on that one as well. But let's keep on going. All right, so we got macroeconomics here. You can see that the price of this book was 70 bucks in the past, up to $80. And then there's been a few times where the price of this book has actually gone down a little bit. You can see how well used offer count and price are inversely related here. So we had a really high used offer count. Price of this book just started increasing really rapidly. And you see that the used offer count goes down, right? The number of people buying this had increased because of textbook season. And then a lot of these sales, were significantly more than the sales at the beginning of the textbook season. So, you're getting to the point where this book is actually the cheapest it's ever been in the past year, which is good news here. And what we want to do is, again, see if there's another edition. It looks like that there is another edition, and $74.99 would be that newer edition. Good news, though, is that this newer edition just recently came out. If we look at the Keepa chart here, you can see that it's only been out for 241 days and it hasn't even been selling yet. So, well, it's sold, I guess, a couple times, but I would say there's still an opportunity for this book here for the next textbook season, 100%. And even though the used price of this book is low, notice that the buy box used price is still really healthy. So we can see that this person is actually even moving their stock quantity, which means that it's likely that they're selling copies. So they were stock quantity of 2, then they went up to 3, which means they added another copy. Then they went down to 2 and down to 1. So that tells me they probably sold 2 books there right around 70 bucks, which means that you'd be profitable here if you had bought a couple of these. So let's look at the used offers here. And let's go in and see if there's anything interesting. All right, so 14 copies is not a good sign. Then we have 2 at 15 go to 25, 41. The good news is that this seller is not a prime seller, but because they have so much stock quantity, they are going to inherently just tank the listing because they're going to offer the marketplace a lot cheaper copies. Now, unfortunately, none of these are good copies. So let's pop over to eBay real quick and let's see if any of these are available at a cheaper price. I'm going to go and sort up here by price shipping lowest first. So it doesn't look like we have any good copies available. This one is 50. So I'm going to pass on that one because none of those are in good condition. If one of those was in good condition, I would have popped though. Silver procedure book. Here's what I mean about these case procedure books. Obviously, this book was just moving at crazy volume and also at insane amounts of money. This was popping off for 180 bucks during the height of the textbook season. And then you can see after this January textbook season, literally just took a nosedive. Now you can pick this up for $7. And the reason for that is there's got to be a newer edition of this book. And let's see, there is a newer edition of this book. Let's see if we can look at that Keepa chart quickly of this newer edition. Yeah, you can see that it just came out. And basically, with these case procedure books, as soon as the new edition comes out, the old edition just tanks. And one sign that that's going to happen is if you look at the used offer count over time, even though it has gone up and down, up and down, up and down, now it's going up. And every time it goes up, it's going up higher than it had in the past. So this is a book that's, people are just trying to get rid of now, and it's not going to have any value. So I'm going to 100% pass on that book because, I've had experience trying to sell those books, and it usually just doesn't work out well, to be honest. Here's another example. This is another one of those case books. You can see this Evitt Learning Series case book. Same thing. Did super well in the textbook season last August. Even did pretty well this January. But again, price is going down because you have a new edition. So I would definitely pass on that. Okay, medical emergency... emergency medical responder. This looks like it could be potentially very good. Let's take a look. So the Keepa chart here, really solid in terms of what this book is selling for in the past year, upwards of 60, 70 bucks. Then January textbook season hit. We did see a decrease in the buy box price, which is not ideal, obviously. And part of the reason for that is the used offer count increased quite substantially. Previously, though, this book was moving pretty well for $60-$70 pretty much year round, but obviously well during the textbook season. And now this has just continued to slide down to $8. So the question really here is there going to be another edition of this? So again, I'm going to press the little Google button to see if we can find the newest edition. So it looks like we have, I think this is the 7th edition. Is this the 8th edition? Let's see. This is the 6th edition. So it looks like this is the emergency medical responder, your first response in emergency care. So it looks like there is a newer edition of this available, and it's just not attached here on the Amazon page. So what I'm going to do is just take this, and I'm going to go over to the Amazon page, type that in. Let's see what pops up first. So yeah, we do get the 7th edition popping up, and this came out in 2020. Yeah, it looks like the one we were looking at came out in 2017. So it looks like there's a 3-year publishing cycle on this book, most likely. So we might even be expecting a new edition this year for this book. And you can see the newer edition is holding strong. Now, I will say, because this newer edition is holding strong in the used price, one thing that I would actually do is see if we can look at the edition previous to this one. So let's see if we can find the 5th edition to see how its price is doing. So I'm going to go ahead and enter that into Amazon there, and let's see if we can find the 5th edition. So we have the 6th edition here. I don't think that's not the 5th edition. That's the 4th edition. Is this the 5th? That's the 3rd edition. So obviously the 4th edition isn't selling at all. Maybe we just have to type this in. 7th, 6th, still 7th. So I'm not able to find the 5th edition. So for some reason, that's a different book. Okay, so I guess what I'm trying to do is see if I can find the 5th edition, see what the Keep chart looks like. Because if the 5th edition, which is an older edition to this one, is still selling regularly, that means that this probably is still going to have some demand. Like, we can probably still sell this. So let's just look at the used offers. Let's see what we got here. I mean, it could still be profitable. We don't necessarily need to sell it for, crazy amounts of money to make profit. So first, let's look at the prime offers. Looks like we're working with 26, couple copies there, then 34, then 61. Okay, so for at least the time being, we'd have to compete at that price. We'd have to compete at $26 if we want to move it. So you'd have to have the buy cost under $12, and it looks like you'd basically be buying this book for right around $12 if you were to buy a couple copies. So really, to make money on this, you need these people to sell out, and you'd probably want to sell it for $40 plus. So this is something I would consider maybe buying one copy of, just to see how it does. But I definitely would not go too deep into that book. So let's just keep on moving. Let's see what we got. Okay, we got Orbital Mechanics here. I think I've sold this book in the past, actually. So you could have picked this book up for about $15. Sold a few times over here for 70. Now it's also right back down to 17 or so. But it definitely has held some pretty good value in the past. It's also shown some history of going up and down in price. So let's take a look. Orbital Mechanics, 3rd edition. I think I've looked at this book before. Let's see if Seller Ramp says I have. Source. So it looks like I haven't searched this book before. Okay, so let's look at the offers here. $14, then $18, then $23. So it's 3 copies, and then it shoots right back up. Again, the question we get asked here, is there a newer edition of this available? Ideally, what we'd want to do is sell it up here when it's worth right around $70. But even if we're picking it up at $18, what would we need to sell this for to get, to make some decent profit? Like, if we sold this for maybe $45 or $49.99, probably better. Then you'd make some decent money. But of course, we want to sell it for $70. That's the goal. So let's see if there's a newer edition. And this is the 3rd edition, Orbital Mechanics. Let's just copy this in Amazon. And let's don't even include edition, because let's don't include edition, because the newest edition should come up if we type this in. Orbital Mechanics, it says 2nd edition. I think that is a different, it looks like it's a different author though. So 3rd edition here. Yeah, this is by Chobotov. Yeah. And one other thing that we can do again is we can just go back to the listing, and we can press that Google button, see if we can find it online as well. All right. Gary says, welcome back from Miami. Did you pick up any pearls of wisdom I'd like to share? Ooh, good question. Yeah, picked up a lot of things. And I think the first thing that the power of networking is is really crazy. I was able to meet a lot of people when I went there. So I was able to meet Warner Fields from Fields of Profit. We actually just filmed yesterday. We did an interview on his channel, my channel. That's going to go out. That was really cool. So he's somebody who's big in the game. I was able to meet Steve Rakin, who I've been coaching for. Obviously, that was awesome. So I was just networking and meeting people. Like the power of that, I was able to develop a lot of relationships. So I was able to meet Logan over here, which was really awesome as well. The other pieces of advice would be, man, I just need to start producing more content. A lot of the guys there, they're like, dude, it's just about putting out good, valuable content to people and just putting yourself out there, giving people an opportunity to see you. So I came away with that. Definitely some strategies for how to better thumbnails, better titles, try to find better videos that catch people's attention more. So I would say that as well. But yeah, just the networking alone was well worth what the expense was going. And it was a really fun trip. So I'd definitely be taking a lot away from that. When there are many offers that have recently dropped in price, what are your thoughts on all of them popping back up after a copy or two sell? They were high before and could all, 100%. If you have 3 or 4 copies that are really low and they've gone down low because of a repricing war, as soon as there's no longer 2 people in that repricing war, then, or even if there could be just one of those people bringing the other ones down. So yeah, definitely prices can go back up after you buy a couple of the copies because how the reprices work. So yeah, I would say sometimes the strategy is definitely not to buy all the copies when they're low. It's just to buy a couple so that the others can shoot back up after the repricer. After the repricer goes back up. Aliyah, morning all. Good morning, everyone. So we're doing some sourcing over here on the product finder tab, actually. So to be honest with everyone here, this book to me doesn't look like there's a new edition. I don't see a 4th edition. This still says 3rd edition. I'm going to type in 4th edition. This is not the same book though. So I'm pretty sure that this 4th edition that 3rd edition is the newest edition. So this is something that I would definitely consider buying a copy of. Let's see. So 14, 18. Yeah. So I'd probably buy this. If it were me, I'd buy the one with the better reviews. So I'd probably buy this copy here for basically 1888 is what he'd be paying. And then I would probably set my min price when I send this into Amazon right around like $40, $45. So you'd make a little bit of profit, and then I'd set my max price for what this has sold for in the past, right around I'd say probably like 75. So I would say you make between $8 to $33 depending on when it moves. And let's see, are there any prime offers right now? I don't think so. Yeah, there's no prime used offer. So you'd win the buy box. If you came in at like 50, came in at 75, you would definitely win the buy box. So I think this would be a decent pickup for sure. It might take a little while to sell, but ooh, can I make a video on Keepa tracking? Yeah, that's definitely something that I should make. I think that would be very, very helpful to a lot of people. So I should definitely make that, Leo. All right. Losing my voice. Let me get some water. Anyone have any questions, by the way? How are sales going for everyone? Curious. Let's just keep on plugging away. I'm going to go and save this Orbital Mechanics because I'm going to pick up a copy if there's still some available. So I got a couple of leads for myself here if no one picks these up. All right, let's keep going to the product finder. So beyond failure, this book consistently selling for about $35. It's down to about 15 or 16. So it's a little bit undervalued. Not sure if it will be quite undervalued enough for you to make money just by selling it for what it's worth, but you'd have to exploit the buy box a little bit in order to make money on this. But price on this looks generally pretty solid. Doesn't move a ton, obviously. We got, looks like 3 copies right around $20, and one of those is a prime seller. So I'm probably just gonna pass on this one because there isn't much potential for really selling this for a high amount. I guess you can go, I mean, you might be able to go up to $54, and it looks like none of these offers have moved though. So even though the winner's been in the buy box, it doesn't look like they've sold it. So probably what you're looking at is like, $39.99. So if you bought it for $20, sold for $39.99, there's not enough margin on that. I mean, you make a little bit of money, but In order for me to justify that ROI, it would have to be moving much, much more quickly than it is. So I'm gonna pass. I think there's other deals out there that are gonna be potentially a lot better. Let's look at this. Computational chemistry. So this kind of bottomed out right around 10 or 12 bucks here in the beginning of the year. A couple sales at 64, then back down to 4 or 5 bucks. Let's look back into history. Looks like this book definitely has had some value for sure. And look how crazy this is. Back in 2016, this thing bottomed out at 1 penny. That's crazy. So that's why you should be tracking books, because obviously if you bought that for 1 penny, you would have had multiple opportunities to make some pretty insane margin on this book. So let's take a look, open up some of the offers here, and let's see if there's a newer edition as well. This is the first edition. This probably came out a long time ago. This came out in 2001. So this is probably not a newer edition of this. I think this is an opportunity to buy one copy, because clearly people still need this book if they're buying it 22 years later. So it really just comes down to how many offers are there, how low are they. So there's a prime offer at 10, and then it goes up to 7, or it goes 10, 10, then 20, and then it goes up to 30. So this is also a prime seller, which is really good news, because right now they're winning the buy box. But if you were to buy their copy, then obviously they're not going to be in the buy box anymore. So I would say $10. I would definitely pop in this book. $10 free shipping. I'd probably list this book for like $39.99 and $39.99 making a $13 profit. It's something, again, it's not going to move a lot, but I think this has good history over the last 10 years or so, that it should move for 35 to 40, even potentially higher than that. So that's a book that I would definitely pop on as well. It would take a little bit longer to sell, but I think it'd be good. Chris says, are there any situations where you buy a book knowing that you will FBM instead of FBA? 100%. Yes, 100%. That's a great question, and let me show you why. The easiest way to explain this is just to use real examples of books that I've sold, that I've merchant fulfilled. Rhetoric of Humor. So on my YouTube channel, one of my recent videos is me going from a $0 to $1,000, Chris. So I started with $0. I started with free book pickups to sell books to buyback companies to get a little bit of cash, and then transitioned to OfferUp in Facebook Marketplace. I was able to find this book from somebody for $5, and I was able to flip it for $79.99. So here's a great example of a book you'd want to merchant fulfill. Notice that for basically the entire length of history of this book, let me try to zoom in here if I can. For the entire history of this book, Amazon was on the listing. So they're on the listing for as low as I don't know, low 20s. And recently they've been upwards of, $49.99. But look what happened this textbook season. They actually went out of stock. And what that means is when they go out of stock, the potential ceiling for what the book can sell for increases, because now Amazon's no longer, if they're not at $49.99 anymore, then they're no longer going to be, they're not on the listing. They're not giving you the cheapest copy. So what happened was they went out of stock. When I picked this book up, I believe it was late January. So I think I picked this up in I want to say January 28th would have been the time I picked this book up. And there's only at that time one offer. So you can see the offer count was 1. Okay, someone sold out at $54.69, then somebody else came back on the listing at $84.78, which was me, and I ended up moving mine down to $79.99. So I listed mine for basically, $30 over what Amazon was listing their copies at, because they're out of stock, and because me and one other seller were the only people on the listing, I decided, hey, I'm gonna put mine at $79.99, and you can see the sales rank drop right here. This is when I sold the book. So the reason why I decided to merchant fulfill this book and not send it in Amazon FBA was, if Amazon's out of stock and the used offer count is really low and it's textbook season, which means there's no supply, there's high demand, then I want to take advantage of that immediately. And the way that I do that is sending it not sending it in, but I take advantage of that by listing as a merchant fulfilled seller. And so I was able to basically take a book that Amazon sold in this July for $28 brand new, and I was able to sell it for $80. So yeah, 100%. There are times when I would merchant fulfill instead of FBA. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. So this computational chemistry book, I think I said that I would buy one. I would buy that prime copy if it were me. Now let's keep on moving. All right, we got system analysis and design. This actually hit my tracker. So you can see this black dashed line on the bottom. I've been tracking this book for $25. Finally, the price of this book came down and has met my tracker. The question is, will I buy the book now? Just because I track a book doesn't mean I'm gonna buy it. It just means that I want to look at it in the future if it ever gets to that price, because it could potentially be a decent lead. So kind of one thing that I noticed overall is that this book has held value, but it looks like it is starting to kind of decrease in price a little bit. You can see that over time, the used offer count, even though it is going up and down, it overall is kind of trending upwards. And now you can see that recently we've seen just a big crash in price here. So my first guess is that there's a newer edition. So I'm going to go ahead and click this Google button, see if we can find a newer edition of this. So we have System Analysis and Design. This is 7th edition. And I'm assuming this is the 8th edition here. Let's see. This is the 12th edition. So this is Scott Tilley. These are different authors. So this is actually not the same book. So System Analysis and Design. I'm just going to go ahead and then go to Amazon. I'm going to copy and paste this and see if I can type in 8th edition here. See if there's a newer edition of this available. System Design. Alan Dennis. These are different. No, this is the same. Stella Wixom. Okay, so there is the 8th edition. This is the 7th edition. Okay, so there is a newer edition of this out, which is probably why this book is starting to tank. So the question is, again, if we take a look at the 6th edition of this book, which is the previous edition, how is that selling? So now I'm just going to come up here and go 6th edition and see what that Keep It chart looks like. Shelley Cashman. So that's not the right book. Okay. So here's the 6th edition. All right. So the 6th edition of this book, wait, is this the same exact? All right, this actually might be a little bit different because this says and design, and then there's actually something additional, an object-oriented approach with UML. So this could be a little bit different of a book, even though it does say 6th edition. But anyways, the 6th edition of this book is still moving great, which is good news. But again, I think this is probably a little bit different. So I'm not sure if this would be a great comparison. Let's go back. Yeah, I'm not finding it. System Analysis. Is this it? Okay, this is it right here. So System Analysis and Design, 6th edition. Let's take a look at what this is going for. You can see the lowest use price is about $12 or $13. And you can see that, you know, basically after the new edition after the 7th edition came out, this just tanked in price. So let's see when the 7th edition was actually published. So if we go down to the product detail page, we can see this was published in 2018. So let's see, right around 2018 when that new copy is published, within about a year's time, the price of this went down. So the question, I guess, is the newest edition of this book that came out, has it been out for a year already? If so, then probably the same sort of trend is going to happen. So this came out, let's scroll down to 2021. Yeah. So my guess is that this book is just going to stay down. Like, it's never going to go back up. So this is something that I would not buy for that reason. So I'm going to pass on that. All right. Let's go to Flipmine for a sec. Let's see if there's anything over here that could be interesting. All right, let's open up this the Lost book. For some reason, Flipmine showing a really high ROI there, so that's something I don't want to look at. Let's look at this Birds book. That looks really interesting. All right, I want to look at that first. $29.90 over here on Amazon. Lowest use price is $100. Ooh, okay, this is a book I'd pop on instantly. The reason why I'd say instantly is, like, lowest use price of this book in the past couple of years has been about $50. And there has been a number of sales. This book has sold as high as 100 as well. Now you'd have to get ungated on this book. So, what is that? Also, there's shipping. So this would be, let's see, this would be $40 is what, a little bit over $40 you'd be paying for this book. So actually, I didn't see that shipping price, but $40 I would still pop on this because a lot of sales at $80 plus. If you sell it at 80, you're making money. If you sell it for 108, which those books have moved for there, then you're making a $40 profit. So this is a solid deal in my opinion. And I'm still going to send him an offer. So let's just send him an offer of like $25. So if I send an offer of 25, let's just see if he takes it. But honestly, what I'm going to do is send an offer because I want to give you all a little opportunity if you want to buy that book. But if this person accepts my offer, then I'm definitely going to pick this book up. Now, that actually, I wish I would have seen that. So you can see that there is a little bit of damage there. I kind of just saw this good and just got a little bit too trigger happy there. So with the exception of one corner, had some damage to spine and dust cover. So we'll see. You could go back and retract that bid, but I think I would still sell this book in acceptable condition, even though it doesn't look ideal right there. But let's say everything were good with that book. Like I said, I think this book should move for $80 pretty easily. So I would say that's a pretty good pickup. We got Blaine in the house. Good morning. Hey, Blaine. It was good to see you in Miami. We also got flips from Miles in the chat. Was also able to see him. Wasn't able to talk to Miles, but that's all good, man. It's good to see everyone there. But thanks for being here. Let's just keep doing some sourcing. All right. Let's see what else we got. So we got this. So we got that Birds book. We have this Managing for Quality and Performance Excellence. Looks like $11 you can buy this for over here on Amazon. So this would definitely not be a good deal if you could buy it for cheaper on Amazon. Now let's go to this Lost book. This one's really interesting. You know, some paperback books can be crazy. Like this was sold for, is there a price? $15. And right now, like you can see, this book is just climbing in price. This book is selling for definitely some good money recently. Like this previous sale here is at 99. We have some sales at 70. So this book definitely has value. Really interesting to see that basically between 2018 and 2022, it had like no value at all. And then all of a sudden, this book has just gone up in price. Now, normally used offer count isn't going to impact price that much. Like used offer count was only 20 when it was really low. So the question is, did something happen? Is there a reason why? Is there a reason why this book just went up in price a lot? I don't know, but I'm gonna track this book. I'm not gonna buy it for $66, but I will track it for maybe like $15 just to see what's up. So I'm gonna track it for 15 for 3 years, and we'll just see what happens. Because again, right now it is for some reason moving for a lot more money. I mean, used offer count's lower, but usually used offer count doesn't have that much of an impact on price. So it's kind of interesting to me. Let's look at this book here. Let's keep going. So I'm really just trying to find anything that has a large ROI potential, and I'm just opening it up. And you know, a lot of these deals are not going to be great, but the point is, it's called Flip Mine for a reason. This looks like it's actually a DVD set, but $49.99. And let's go over here to Amazon. You could basically buy it for the same price. But notice with this that this book has been selling for over $90. It's even sold up to $150 in the beginning of last year. Now, it does kind of look like the used price is sort of trending down a little bit, but sales rank on this is really good, so it's definitely moving. But this would be definitely some potential for some Amazon to Amazon flips. But this is a leader kit, so this means it probably comes with a lot of stuff. Notice that this listing here is only for the DVD set. It doesn't actually come with the books. So all these other offers here as well, they're probably missing stuff. Like this person, you know, they don't even tell you what is coming with. So no idea if you're going to get everything, but like this person obviously did a great job of showing everything. So if Benny was over here at $48 and had, you know, all of these things listed, then I'd definitely consider popping on that. But for sure. So we got We Live. Yes, we're live over here. Thanks for showing up. Appreciate you. Appreciate you for showing up. All right, let's see if there's anything else. The spatial database. It was $142. Now it's down to $12. I guess they're trying to move it out of here. $12.49. And you can see this book is kind of just over the past year. It hasn't been selling much. It's kind of just been skidding in price. And in the past 2020, it held no value. It's right around $2. That's an immediate pass for me. Let's see if there's anything else that looks interesting. There's a big enough margin or big enough spread. Okay, now we're back to what we saw in the beginning. All right, let's look at some Van Gogh here. Pick up Van Gogh for 96, flip it for 157. Potentially, we'll see if that's true. Looks like this is in pretty good condition. So it's gonna be about, and you can make an offer. The question is, what is this worth? Buy box is 129. You know, this, I would say this is worth right around 80 90 bucks. You could probably sell for maybe 115, 120 pretty easy as a prime seller, but not enough margin here. What would I need to be at? I would conservatively estimate that, hey, we can move this probably for 95 bucks, like as a prime seller easily. And honestly, that's being conservative. You probably can go higher than that. So if we were to get this book for free, the payout would be 67. So if I wanted this to be a steal, I'd want to pick this up for 35, which is obviously way different than the price that they're asking. So I'm gonna move on from there. But oh, my bad. Switch screen. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, it was over there. Sorry about that, Chris. I was basically just saying that this Vincent Van Gogh book here, it's $90 on eBay. Over here on Amazon, if we look at the Keep It chart, it's moving pretty consistently for 85 to 100. It's gone even higher than that. So I was just being conservative, saying, hey, could probably move this pretty easily at 95. I'd want to be in at this at 35 to be like, hey, that's a great deal. This book does actually move pretty frequently at 95 though. So if you could pick it up, maybe even for like 45, you'd take a little bit less of an ROI. Like 50% is still pretty good, honestly. So maybe upwards of 45 would be a good deal. Now, one thing that you could do is you could track this book. Like back here in January 2020, the price of this book has got as low as $29. And I would argue that, hey, you know, right here is $25. So that would have hit our mark. So this is something I'm gonna track for $30. So I'm gonna go over here to the track product feature. I'm gonna track this for $30. And if that ever happens, I'm gonna get notified. And it looks like there's actually just 2 other people tracking this. So there's actually going to be not that much competition, and their average desired price is about $19. So I would get notified first if it ever dropped that low. Let's see, anything else? Okay, let's just keep going. Let's go on the deals page actually, because we've been using the product finder. We've actually seen some pretty good things, honestly, on the product finder. But let's go over to the deals page because that's the third way. I appreciate it, Leah. I appreciate it. Yeah, you're here not for me. You're here for the content. You're here for the books. I get it. It's all good. So we're looking for used books here on the deals page. I'm limiting drop interval to the last month. I'm looking for a drop between 40 to 60%. I'm looking for the current price range to be, let's see, 0 results found. This is like the one thing about the deals page that drives me insane is pulling these apart. There we go. Okay. So I want the current price of this book to be $23 or less. So I'm looking for a book that's seen a pretty significant drop in price and percentage wise and also dollar amount. We're going up to 2 million rank. We're going to sort by the drop percentage. So ideally, these are books that would have dropped the most in price in the recent past. And you can see that it is true that this book did drop in price significantly. It went from 129 to 22. It just so happens that this price at 129 was clearly not a reasonable price. It was inflated, which is why. Same thing here. Like this price, even though the price drop was massive, this again, 130 is not a price that this book generally moves for. Usually it moves for a much lower amount. It looks like the reason why the price of the book actually came back down is because somebody came on this listing in new condition. So found some copies in the warehouse. But this is a great example of another book that I would track. I would actually track this from Amazon because Amazon was selling this as low as $25, and they sold that just for a short period of time. And if we even go back further, when Amazon was selling this for 24, this book was moving all the time. Clearly, when Amazon went out of stock, the price of this book actually went double the retail pretty quickly. So this is something that I'm going to track in new condition. This is Batman book. Yeah. And you can see it's down to 25. So one thing is that because this new third party is out of stock, you would expect that this book might start selling for upwards of $50 or $60 again. So you could even maybe buy 1 or 2 of these copies that are at $20. It actually looks like there's 5 offers from a new seller at 25. So actually you could buy this book in new condition for $25. So this is something that, considering this book goes up in value after Amazon goes out of stock, I would consider buying maybe 1 copy of this, especially because this new seller only has 1 in stock. So that'd be an interesting new flip there. But let's keep going on the deals page here. See if we can find any good drops here. And remember, it's all about volume, everybody. Like, you're not gonna, most of the books that you come across are not gonna be buys. Like, actually a small percentage of them, it's actually just like scanning stuff at a thrift store, right? Most of the stuff you're just trying to shovel through, it's just junk. And we're trying to get through all the junk so that you can find the nuggets. That looks a little bit interesting, but probably can find some better. Honestly, it looks like we're finding better stuff with the product finder, probably because the product finder is a little bit harder to use. The deals page is much easier to use. So let's see. Okay, this is the first one that looks somewhat decent because this book has been moving for about $50. Not a lot, sold a couple times for 85 bucks in January and February, and then now it's down to 20. So this potentially could be a decent deal. Again, let's look at the offers. So we got a couple of rentals there, which again don't really matter. Let's look at the used price. We got 24, 24, 30. And I got a couple copies. We got Rent You on the listing though with 3 offers at $30, and they're prime sellers. So this is something that I'd pass on because it doesn't really move much. And if Rent You, which is a big textbook company, has multiple copies, it's likely that they'll come back on more copies. So I'm gonna avoid them and move on. Looks like we got some Sailor Moon in the house, down to $22. So again, here's another thing that was selling for 30 to 40 bucks, and then recently a new third-party seller came on the listing at 26. There's really not enough upward sort of mobility for this book for me to consider wanting to buy that book, though. Just keep on going. Anyone have any questions? How's book selling going? How the sales going? Curious how things are going out there for you. Textbook or books are actually moving pretty well for me right now. I'm actually doing pretty well. I'm doing like so far in the last like week and a half on the low end, doing like $300 a day. And then on the higher end, going $500 or $600 a day, which is pretty good. Not being, considering it's not textbook season, so that's pretty good for me. All right, 27 bucks. So here's a book that definitely holds a little bit of value. I'd say right around like the $30 mark, and it has sold for more in the past. It's gone up to 60 in the past before. Used offer count looks pretty good right now. It's still pretty low. So this, I would say, could be a potential snag for sure because at a higher offer count, this was moving pretty consistently for right around 30. And it looks like there is a little bit of, might be a little bit of textbook seasonality to this. But this is not a textbook. Helpful House Treasure. I think I've sold this book before. So let's look at the used offers here. Looks like we got 24. Got a couple copies at 24. Then goes with 28. Let's see if there's any prime offers here. What they're at. So we got a prime offer at 89. Miles of merchandise. This is Miles's storefront. He's only got one review. I'm just joking. So 24 is the prime seller right now. So if I were to buy this, I'd buy it from the prime seller, and I think that I mean these books were moving right around here for like this move for 90 bucks, and like I said, these were moving up here between 50 and 60, and then it kind of like I would say 28 is the bottom, like the bottom out price. So I would say you're definitely not going to. Yeah, I would say this is something that is much less risky to buy because it holds value. Like, even though it has been this low in the past, it generally holds value. So this is a book that I would also consider buying. I would buy it for basically 25 bucks, and I would try to list this at probably right around like $60 is what I'd try to sell this at. Make some decent profit. Like I said, these books, I mean, these copies were moving at around 90 bucks. So it is possible that when the offer count gets a little bit lower that you can move it at that price. And there is history in the past of it moving for 80 bucks. And, so I would say this is a safe bet. You're probably, you can squeeze a little bit of margin out of this. So that's another book that I would buy. Okay. Let's see. What else we got? Ooh, this book, super interesting. You can see this price just dropped off a cliff, went down to about 10 bucks. There's one sell for 90. And this book actually was moving. This book has been moving for over 100 bucks, just not a lot. So you would have to wait on this book for a long time to get to sell. Is this a textbook? I don't think it is a textbook. The Philosopher, and yeah, so there's only one copy left at 13. There's actually 2 copies, 1382, 1382. You can see someone just bought this book here, which means that probably that was, my guess is that it's probably a reseller. I mean, but the data on this book looks really good. Like, even though it doesn't sell a lot, this is a book that at a higher offer count is selling for $70 plus. And this book is really cheap if you think about it. There's only 2 copies. This one at 13. They're both at 1382 basically. And just remember that you don't have to sell it for $90 to make money. If you buy this for 1382, to make a little bit of money, you just have to sell it for $39.99. And if you list it at $39.99, you're much more likely to get a sale because it's cheaper than it's been in the past. So, this came out when the year that I was born. This clearly is a book that is very niche. Some people want it. Not a ton of people want it, but when people want it, they're willing to obviously pay up. And the reason why I know that is you go back to 2000 days, and this book was even moving for $45. So It's moving back there for 45, a couple sales for 60, and then a couple sales down here for 36 when the offer count was actually really high. And then actually some of these more recent sales have been for some pretty decent money. So honestly, because this book is so cheap right now and it has history, what I would do if I were you is I would buy both copies because they're cheap enough, and I would probably send one in Prime, and I'd probably list it at a price like $39.99 or $49.99 to try to get to sell more quickly. And then I'd take the other copy and I'd put it on my shelf. And the reason why I'd put it on my shelf is because this is, if there's a Prime offer available, it's going to move more. It is going to move more quickly, considering that you're going to price it more cheaply. But the thing is, because it doesn't really sell that often, you don't want to have multiple copies there, because you could eventually get long-term storage fees if it's there for 6 months. So yeah, I would definitely consider this, Chris. Even though it's 3 million rank, I would personally buy both of these. I would send one in Prime. I'd probably send it in $49.99, and then I'd keep the other one on my shelf. And as soon as this one sold for $49.99, I'd just replenish it. And if I only had one left, I'd probably, actually ask a little bit more for this book. But there is some good history to show that when the price of this book was a little bit cheaper, it didn't move. Like, it was moving once per month in this 6 month stretch for $50-$60. So yeah, this is something that I would 100% pop on. And the reason again for that is it's held value. It's very niche. It's not a textbook. It's been out since 1994. If someone's willing to buy this book in 2022 for $93 and it came out in 1994, clearly it has some value. So yeah, this is something that I would pop on. But again, at this point in my, book selling career, I have a lot of money that I can use as towards investment rather than having to buy quick moving products. So, I'm at the point where I can't even spend the money that I have. So putting money in I consider these things like assets in a way. It's like you're putting your money into something that historically has performed well. It has performed better than, what the face value of the amount of money that you're putting into this. So for me, even if I got to hold on to these for, even if it takes me 6 months to sell the first one, I'm fine. I'm only, going to be basically investing $13 in that first book. And the second book, even if it takes a year and a half for me to sell, and I got shelf space, there's no reason why I can't just let this sit there and, and eventually just replenish it. So I'm going to buy one of those or both of those if no one else does. But I think that it's going to be a slow mover for sure, but definitely some potential. Okay. Anything over here on Flipmine? So we got this food medicine. A lot of these food interaction, like these spiral bounds, for some reason can be worth some money. I don't know why, but I don't know what is so important about it. I've been tracking this for a while now. So $65, definitely just not going to be enough spread for me to want to buy this book. Maybe if it was right around like 35 to 45, I'd be a little bit more excited about it. So say that. Introduction to design, it's acceptable. Also, you can buy it for about the same price over here on Amazon. Let's take a look at the Keep It chart. And I mean, this has been moving for pretty good money. This is something I'd probably track. Yeah, because look how crazy this is. Like, if you're tracking this book, you could have bought this book for 5 cents. Like, how insane is that? That's why we all need to be tracking books. You could have bought this in 2022 for $20. So there's only one person tracking it, and they're tracking for $32. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and beat them. I'll go ahead and track it for $33. I'm gonna be that guy. So not gonna pop on at 84 though. This one has the best offer enabled. So let's see, 55, acceptable condition. It looks pretty torn up. So I'm not gonna buy that book either. But this actually has really good solid sales at 75 plus, upwards of $100, even upwards of $150. So it has super high potential, moving really well. Great textbook seasonality to this book. Unfortunately, the condition of it's not the best. So that's why it's so cheap. If this was in good condition though, I would definitely send an offer, because conservatively, I would estimate I would sell this for $80. That's conservatively. So I'd try to get this I'd probably send an offer for about like 35 to try to get it for 40. So that's what I would try to do. And again, this has a lot of upward potential as well. So, it's definitely likely that you can sell for 115. Like, I've definitely sold books like this for 115. So that'd be a good deal if you could do that. But We've been live for about an hour, and my voice is getting tired. I got other stuff I got to do. I'm sure everyone else here has other stuff they got to do as well. But all these books up here, these 5 or 6 books, these are books that I would have bought in the sourcing session. And if no one buys them, I'm going to go back now after the stream's over, and I'm going to buy a couple copies. So any questions before we round it out? Appreciate everyone being here. Oh, I do have a couple things that I want to show you. So the first thing is going to be, if you're not a part of the Discord community, then I'll go ahead and post a link down there at the bottom. So we have about, I want to say like 80 or 90 people in the Discord. It's completely free. And let me go ahead and find that for you. So if you want to join, you can do that. But it's completely free. A lot of really great people in that community, in that group. So let's go ahead and give you that link. So let's come over here. Yeah, you're welcome, Chris. So there it is. If you want to sign up for the Discord, you'll get the link to the Discord group there. A lot of great people in there. And the other thing is, if you want to sign up for my newsletter, I also have a newsletter, and I can go ahead and show you that as well. So let's get this. Go there. So if you want to sign up for the newsletter, that's where I plan to send out information about new courses coming out, coaching, anything specific. You're welcome, AJ. By the way, I did have my first coaching session just the other day, and it actually went really well. And I'm actually gonna think about doing a little bit of coaching. I'm thinking coaching maybe on Thursdays between 4:30 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. PST, and I'm thinking of charging like $50 per person and doing like a small group coaching session, like 2 to 4 people. So I'm interested to know if anyone would be interested in that, like a small group coaching where we can go over, you can bring specific ASINs. You can ask me questions about the business. You can ask me literally anything. And we can also do some live sourcing if you have some questions like that. So like I said, I did have a coaching session just the other day. Went really well. It's the first time I did it for an individual. So that's potential. That's possible. So any other questions you got? How are sales looking, everybody? How are sales looking? Any good buys? Any wins lately? How are things going? Probably just stay on for like a couple minutes, see if anyone has any questions. Then I'll go ahead and we'll all get out of here. Right now, it's not sunny San Diego, California. It's rainy San Diego, California over here. So, Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for the tutorial. You're welcome, Rosemary. You're welcome, Leah. Great session, says Chris. Awesome. And AJ says, thank you very much. You're welcome. Also got to work on a video. Last time I think posted a video was like 11 days ago. So I got to get a YouTube video out. Let's see. Chris says, do you ever buy from World of Books? World of Books. Is that an Amazon seller? You don't see the newsletter link. Let me see. I wonder if my own chat restricted. This is the newsletter. This is the newsletter link right here, Gary. Do you ever buy from World of Books? Chris, is that an Amazon seller? Is that what that is? Because I don't think Worlds of Book USA, I think is what they're called. Yeah, I bought from Books of World USA. They have very long lead times. Yeah, I definitely bought from Worlds of Books USA. I'm not sure if that's the same. That's the same seller, but I have bought from them. I've also bought from the UK before, and it does take a while for books to get here from the UK. But that book that I did buy from the UK, I think I bought it for like 15 and sold for like 130 or something. So it was like, oh, that's an interesting model. I can buy books from overseas as well. A lot of times, books in overseas, they don't move as fast, or nor do they move for as much. So yeah. So yeah, I definitely have bought from them. A lot of times they have some good deals. So those are good. All right, everybody. I think we're gonna end it out for today. If you have any questions, feel free to join the Discord community. Put the question in the Discord. A lot of people in there can answer your questions. I can answer your question a lot of the time as well. But that's all I got for you today. Have a great day and goodbye, everybody. I'll see you next Saturday, 6:30 a.m. PST.